So welcome to the second lecture of class 7th NCRT part 2. Yesterday we discussed about new kings and kingdoms in our part 1 lecture. Today we are going to talk about the administration in the kingdom, how the administration is done, and new kings and dynasties, right? So we already have discussed about Nati Durga, right, Maurice Sherman, Harichandra, okay. Then talking about administration in the kingdom, they generally what happened at that point of time, kings gave themselves high sounding title, Maharaja Adhiraja. We already have discussed about it. Tribhuvan Chakravartin, these were some of the titles that they used to give themselves, right? Then we have also discussed about how the revenue were used, right? Now there comes a question, why does these kings collected tax? What was the use of collecting those tax? So generally those taxes were collected in order to wage wars, to finance the establishment, to construct massive structures like fort, temple, places. Prashastis and land grants as well. Now what is prashastis? Prashastis were Sanskrit poems which were generally written by Brahmins in praise of kings. So generally at that point of time, kings wanted these kind of poems. They want, like they want that some people should pray in them. So they used to appoint these poets also. So the pastis were such Sanskrit poems which was written by Brahmins. Okay, and not necessarily be literally true. It is not necessary that it may be necessarily true. They tell us the way the rulers wanted to depict themselves, how the rulers want that people should know them, how they wanted themselves to be depicted. For example, great achievers, whether they are victorious, fearless, valiant, etc. As you know, at that point of time, there were no such interviews, right? Right. In nowadays, press media is very much uh, famous. Whenever they, some people do some activities, uh, there is interview which is taken, right? But at that point of time, how they used to depict themselves, that was something for which the poem was written, in which it is said that how the king was, how victorious, how glorious, how fearless the king was, right? Kalhana composed his prasasti for history of kings, okay, who ruled over Kashmir. So Kalhana was composed, okay. He was often critical about the rulers. Means basically Kalhana, he used to write the critics about the rulers and their policies, unlike the Prasastis. So if you compare about the poems written by Kalhana and Prasastis, there was some difference in it, right? So Prasastis always praised them, but Kalhana used to give the critics as well, okay. Then there comes the topic land grants. So often what happened, the kings used to reward the Brahmanas by giving grant of land, right? So these was recorded on copper plate, as you know, inscriptions, manuscript. These were very famous, right, at that point of time. But this is the only way by which kings used to depict themselves or inscribe the important events, right? So these land grants to whom it was given, it was all written on copper plates, which were given to the people who received land. Okay. Then warfare for wealth. Every ruling dynasty tried to control other areas for wealth. And how they used to control these? By means of war. Then you might have heard about this tripartite struggle. Tripartite struggle. Three parties were involved for, in such tripartite struggle में three parties were involved, Pala, Rashtrakuta and Gurjara Pratihara. And these people wanted to control over Kannauj. Why? Because Kannauj was very important for commercial purpose, and it was lying on the route of Ganga, right? So it lied on Ganga trade route. Then Sultan Mahmud of Ghazni, Afghanistan. He was talking about Sultan Mahmud of Ghazni, who was from Afghanistan. He ruled from 997 to 1030 Common Era, and he ruled over parts of Central Asia, then Iran, and northwest part of the subcontinent. They targeted wealthy temples. Example Somnath, Gujarat, है ना? Hired a scholar Al-Biruni to write an account of the subcontinent, and Al-Biruni wrote Kitab al-Hind, very famous book of his that was written by Al-Biruni was Kitab al-Hind. Then Chauhan or Chahmanas, they ruled over Delhi and Ajmer, and they were opposed by Chalukyas of Gujarat and the Garhwals of western Uttar Pradesh while attempting to expand control to the west and east, right? And they were the best known Jahana's ruler were Prithviraj III, who ruled between 1168 to 1192. Prithviraj III defeated Afghan ruler Sultan Mahmud Ghazvini in 1191. And Prithviraj III lost to him the next year. Cholas, dynasties, temples, sculpture, and administration. This is the next topic that we are going to discuss. How the Cholas rose to the power. Basically, Cholas, they were chiefly families in south subordinate to Pallavas, and there were two types. That was Muttarayyar and Cholas. So Muttarayyar held power in regions around Kaveri Delta, okay, and Cholas held power in Uriyur, okay. And if you differentiate between Muttarayyar and Cholas, Muttarayyar, Vijayalaya, a Chola chief, captured the Kaveri Delta from Muttarayyar in the middle of 9th century. He built the town of Thanjavur, okay. He also built a temple of goddess Nishum Bhasudini there, okay. And talking about Cholas, they were generally, like Thanjavur, Uriyur was the place, wherein they were holding the power, okay. Then Gangaikonda Cholapuram was some of the major sites. Now, there comes the topic, what was the story of Chola dynasty? Chola kingdom grew in size and power with the conquest of neighboring areas by the successor of Vijayalaya. The Pandyans and the Pallavas territories to the south and north became part of Chola kingdom. So what were the part of Chola kingdoms? The Pandyans and Pallavas territories. Raja I, he was considered to be the most powerful Chola ruler. He became king in 985 and expanded control over most of the areas mentioned above. He reorganized an administration of the empire. His son Rajendra I continued his policies and even raided the Ganga Valley, Sri Lanka, and countries of Southeast Asia, developing a navy for these expeditions. Okay, then splendid temples of Chola Empire. Raja and Rajendra built splendid temples at Thanjavur and Gangaikonda Cholapuram. There were various economic, social, and cultural activities associated with the Chola temple. So, the economic activities, social, and cultural activities were associated with the Chola temples. Temples were the nucleus of settlement, center of craft production like bronze images, and temples used to receive the huge land endowments from rulers. The priests, garland makers, cooks, sweepers, musicians, etc. They all worked and lived near temples. Chola temple, Brihadeshwara temple at Thanjavur, and Gangaikonda Cholapuram temple. How did the Chola rulers improve agriculture now? So clearing forest lands to bring more lands under cultivation, this was one of the methods taken by them. Irrigation works were developed where wells were dug, canals were built, and tanks were constructed to collect rainwater. They built embankments to prevent flooding. Okay, and the Kaveri River provided water for both irrigation and in order to fertile the soil. And the river Kaveri provided water for irrigation and fertilizer. So basically, river Kaveri was the major site which were providing water for irrigation and for the fertility of soil. Okay. Then UR settlement of peasants, Nadu group of villages with settlements of peasants were called Nadu. नाडू में UR1, UR2, UR3 आते थे. Vellala, a caste of rich peasants. Brahmadeya, land gifted to Brahmanas by Kim were known as Brahmadeya. Okay, in next class we are going to talk about Chola administration, terminology and tripartite struggle.